Hello and happy Thursday to everyone. Let me go ahead and just present my screen. First thing I want to say is that I'm very sorry that I'm not there with you guys today. Trust me, if I could, I would be. But today is actually a holiday. It's a Jewish holiday called Yom Kippur, and that is the Day of Atonement. So it's kind of when we fast for 24 hours to atone for our sins. And so, trust me, I would much rather be there with you guys doing all the fun sciencey stuff, but nobody likes me when I'm hangry. So, decided to take the day off and kind of observe this holiday. So, instead, I did want to create this video so that way you guys could still kind of go through the next lesson and not just kind of throw in a random movie or something like that. So, a lot of what today is going to look like is going to be me giving out the instructions, kind of explaining how things are going to go, but everything is going to be timed. So whereas previously we've been spending a lot of time where I kind of give you an instruction and then I let you kind of work on it and we kind of go on, this time I'm actually going to be asking the substitute, thank you very much, to go ahead and pause the video when I say pause and start the timer for that specific activity. So let's go ahead and get started. Per usual, make sure as you're coming in that you're opening up your computer, you are answering the warm-up as you sign in. And today, what you'll notice is you're going to answer the warm-up and you're also going to open your computer to your station exploration document. So first of all, answer the question in your warm-up slide. Some of you have mentioned that there's only enough for 3 days, but we see each other 4 times this week. So go ahead and just duplicate one of your empty slides to make enough for tomorrow's on Friday. But the warm-up question is, how can you tell if something is considered science or not? Don't forget to write down that learning target. So we're going to spend some time today. We're going to finish up our stations, and then we're going to have some time to kind of think about the last couple of days and the activities we did and determine which one we think is science and not. So I'm going to ask the sub to please pause here and put 10 minutes on the timer. You'll have, actually, I kind of spent some time talking. So let's put more like 7 minutes on the timer because you should be doing your warm up the whole time I was talking. And then we can go ahead and get started. So sub, please turn that timer on to 7 minutes and go ahead and get started. So you should be pausing the video now. Great. All right, so hopefully the last 7 minutes you've had a chance to go ahead and answer or get the warm-up started. So again, are my 3 volunteers. Remember, I do victims. So the substitute, you can go ahead and pause the video and call on 3 volunteers. People, raise your hand, volunteer. Don't make it awkward. Okay, go ahead and pause this now and call on your 3 volunteers. Play when you're done. So hopefully you've had a chance to go ahead and answer your 3 warm-ups, your volunteers. And so we're going to come back to this tomorrow, Friday, and kind of get the idea of what science really is. So for now, we're going to get back to our science station. So hopefully you guys have had an opportunity to kind of figure out what you might think is science. So if you haven't already, go ahead and open up your station exploration document. And what you're going to do next, today is the agenda. So we already did the 10-minute warm-up, right? You've had a couple minutes to think about it. You had some time to answer it and so forth. So now we're going to go ahead and kind of pick up where we left off yesterday. So some of you guys, or 2 days ago, if you're my second period. So a couple days ago, you had a chance to start at some of the stations. I know that my 3rd period just got started at the last 10 minutes yesterday. So we're going to be focusing some time now to do 2 to 3 more stations. You're going to have 40 minutes to complete the stations. Now, I know that I didn't go through all the directions, and so I want to go through some of them again. So the first thing I want to really reiterate is the fact that we really need to be mindful and respectful of our school materials, especially the ones that we use in science. So for example, I know I told you guys my third period to just go ahead and get started, but I didn't really specify what the directions are. So I'm going to go through each one. And I'm going to make some comments about how to be respectful with the material. So the first thing I want to point out is the PAR station. So let me get that for a second. So I said PAR, but I meant pulse oximeter station. So this is the one that's over by the front door. And you're going to see that there is a bucket, and we have a bunch of these little guys. So to turn it on, you're just going to hit the power button, and that should turn it on, or this is going to be really awkward, and it's not going to turn on. Of course, the one that I choose. I love how some things just never change. This one does work though. Look at that. So then you're going to kind of give it a moment to start. And then once it's ready and it starts to kind of blink, you're going to go ahead and put it on your finger. So this is going to be an opportunity. It's going to take a little bit, but it's then going to start to read some numbers. I'm not going to tell you what numbers those are. I'm going to let you kind of play around with it and figure it out. But whatever questions or observations or any sort of details or notes that you're having while you're interacting with this, you're going to want to be writing that in your document, your exploration station document. And remember that you should be going to about 4 total by the end of 3 to 4 total. And so you're going to be having a chance to kind of take a look and then do things, right? So if you're sitting down, what does your number look like? What happens if you do jumping jacks? What happens if you start sprinting? What happens if you kind of take a little nap? Right? So these are going to be opportunities for you guys to make sure that you are kind of interacting with it. And so be careful with these. We don't need to be throwing them. We shouldn't be kind of hurting these. Again, these are all for the school's use, so we want to be mindful. But that is what you do for the pulse oximeter. So now I'm at the Mealworm Colony station. So some of you guys will have had a chance to kind of look at this yesterday or the day before, but I really just want to remind you that this is going to be an area that you can look at. And these are really safe and they're fun and they're not going to hurt you. So if you're brave enough, you can pick them up. I'm not one of those people, so I'm not going to do it, but you can pick them up, kind of hold them, play with them. I'll kind of give you a closer look. But the biggest thing you're going to want to do is just make some observations. What do you notice? What happens if you kind of move some of the food, right? So I'm going to choose one. It really grosses me out. But if you kind of use it, you can gently move the kind of stuff around and see what's going on underneath. But the biggest thing you're going to want to do, again, is make observations. What questions come up for you, right? You're starting to see a theme here. So really the biggest thing about the mealworm colony is understanding that these are live insects or live bugs and beetles. And so we really want to make sure that we're being respectful. So nobody should be throwing them or squishing them. Even if it's already dead, we really shouldn't be doing that because it's not really kind. And if we can't be kind to animals, then I can't bring them in anymore. So make sure that you're taking the time over here to be really respectful and mindful. And then take some really awesome notes. It's really cool. Next, this is the PAR system. And if I didn't already mention, all of the instructions are at the stations in these labeled sheets. So when you're at the PAR station and the three-way meter, this one is really specifically to measure photosynthesis. This measures moisture, light, and pH. So if you want to use this guy, I have several plants around the room. All I ask is that you're really careful. This is my personal device, so please do not break it. And then when you put it into the soil, you don't need to jab it. Make sure that there's no plants in the way. Just kind of gently put it into the soil. But then you can change the different indicator, like what it's measuring, by moving this from over to the middle to the left. And that's going to kind of change the dial. And then you'll have to just pay attention to the accurate meter to determine what you're trying to measure. You can try the different plants around the room and see what the numbers come up. Maybe even take a look at the instructions or on the back and try to guess what plant it is and if it's getting enough sunlight or not. or moisture maybe. So, and then every time you want to use this in a different plant, then you need to make sure that you wipe it off. Okay, so making sure that you got that. And then we have this photosynthetic sensor, and it's technically called a photosynthetically active radiation. So if you kind of know a little bit about photosynthesis, you might know that there's a byproduct. And so to use this, you can kind of bring this over to the leaves of different plants in the room, and it will measure the photosynthetic process. So what do you notice? Which plants are having more success than others, right? And so use this, and it's going to take a little bit of trial or error, but you guys are super savvy and like tech savvy, so I know you guys can figure this out. But you're going to want to use this. This is the like kind of the meter, the recorder. And so move it around. What do you notice? What comes up for you? What questions do you have? What observations do you make? What are some potential answers to your questions? Next, we have the microscope station. So like I told you, the directions are right there. In order to use the microscope station, you must watch the video. The QR code is right there. You cannot use the microscope until you watch the video. One thing I've noticed is that not everyone is taking very good care of the slides, and that might mean you didn't watch the video. So be mindful when you're talking about the slides. First of all, remember, these aren't mine. I'm borrowing them, and I already have one that's cracked. So that is not a very good look for me. My colleague is no longer going to let me borrow things. So if you are going to use the microscope, please do use the microscope if you know that you can be trusted, if you know that you can handle it. So when you're picking up slides, you really just want to pick them up on the sides. You don't want to get your fingerprints in there, and you really want to put them back. Collects dust. Dust is hard to clean, and make it all nice and pretty again. Make sure that you are definitely putting it back where they belong. Now, the other thing I want to point out is the fact that we do have some slides that you can kind of make on your own. There are some slides that are blank like this, and so we can go ahead and take something that you find, maybe a piece of lint, maybe a hair. You can go ahead and put that on and then put it onto the microscope. Please don't forget to turn the microscope off at the end of the period. Believe it or not, these are really expensive, and the light bulbs are expensive, and they don't always last long. So please make sure that you're being respectful by turning off the light at the end of the period. Okay, and that is the microscopes. So one station that's in between the two microscope stations is this one that you can kind of turn your phone into a magnifying glass. So there are some directions, and if you don't go ahead and put this attachment over your camera, then you can start, and then you turn the camera function on, you can actually start to see a couple of close-up things. And then this one that I have here does have a light that you can turn on, but again, remember to turn it off when you are done using it. And now we have the milk magic. Now this could potentially be the messiest one. And so it's really important that you guys are being mindful of how you're pouring the milk and keeping the station clean. Now I purposely set these stations next to sinks, right? So make sure you're reading the directions. Again, I really made sure to make it very obvious. But in general, you're going to be pouring some of the milk, and you're going to pour it and measure 25 milliliters in the graduated cylinder. And then you're going to use some food coloring, but you only need a few drops. I can already tell you that some of my students in my other periods kind of went to town. And again, I borrowed these. And so now this is really awkward when I return them because there's some that are empty. But be mindful, please make sure that you guys are taking turns, that you're sharing the equipment, and that you're not overdoing it. And then once you put the colors in, then you can start to put some drops of detergent, liquid detergent, and see what happens on the plates. I'll take out the plates in just I'm not there. the plates will be ready for you in the morning. So just make sure that you guys are putting everything away, and put the milk back into the ice bucket because it needs to stay cold. And if anything spills, to clean up, you're just going to pour your plate out into the sink, and then you're going to throw the plate away. If anything spills, there's a reason why I have this jumbo set of paper towel roll for you to use to clean up. So please do not leave your station without cleaning up. Thanks. I know some of you guys were able to make it to the shaving cream art station, but unfortunately we ran out of shaving cream, and I'm not there to get you any new ones. But I will have some come Friday because I need to replace it for the other teacher anyways. So we will have some shaving cream on Friday. So if anyone was interested in doing that activity that didn't get to, you will have another chance come Friday. Otherwise, that's not an option for this time. I'm sorry, guys. The last station you have to choose from is something called the Stroop Effect. So again, this one is at one of the tables. The directions are right here, but you're going to go through deck A. You want to go through deck A reading the color of the ink, not the word. Try to go through it as fast as you can. Once you're done with deck A, then you're going to go through deck B. What happened? What came up for you? Challenge yourself. How many can you get through in 30 seconds in the deck B, right? Making sure that in every single station, you're writing down questions, observations, or anything like that that come up for you in your document. Now that you've had a chance to get a kind of a rundown for each station, you're going to have a chance to go ahead and explore. Now, again, I really want to ask for you guys to be respectful. It's really important to me that everything is treated carefully, especially because I'm borrowing this. And I already told you this yesterday, or maybe I didn't, but remember that you represent me. Okay, I'm not there to defend myself. And so you, as my students, represent how I am as a teacher. And I really don't like to look bad. So please make sure you're being respectful, you're following the directions, you're filling out the document. Make sure that you're putting in as much detail and specifics as you can. Now you have about 30 minutes to get through 2 to 3 stations. So go ahead, pause this video, put 30 minutes on the timer, and go. Like really, guys, like go. Pause the video. This is awkward now. Just go. All right, I hope you guys had a great time having some time to explore with science, making sure that you are asking those good questions. And now we get a chance to kind of think about what we did over the last week. So let's take a look at these directions. So this is a document that was assigned to you on your Google Classroom, and I'd really like for you guys to open that up now. Don't worry, I'll wait. Give you guys a couple seconds to open up that document. Google Classroom, what is science? All right. As you guys are opening this document, I want to let you know this is your first graded assignment of this year. Okay, so everything that we've been doing is leading up to this moment. So we are going to have a chance to kind of think about and reflect what we did and provide some of our own explanations and answers. So let's take a look at this document together. You should all be there. So over the last few days, we've been learning about different phenomenon. We spent a day researching topics like astrology, cryptozoology, and so forth. And then we spent some time exploring different stations and working with different mediums. But which ones were science, right? So reflect on the last few days and determine which ones you think are considered science. Complete the following table and answer the questions below. Be sure to write S for science or NS for not science in the appropriate column. You're going to do this for all the phenomenon activity, even if you didn't research it or do it. So hopefully you've had a chance to at least talk or listen to people, talk about their stations, but you're going to determine them for all 16 that we have here. You can look back on your notes like your research or the slides or the document that you created as you were going around or that you filled out as you were walking around the stations, right? But making sure that this is time for you to be working independently. So this is quiet think time. This is a time for you to be considering what you think is science and not science. We're not going to play music. You can listen to music if you would like to, but I'd really like to keep this room quiet for about, let's do it for about 6 minutes. I think 6 minutes is a good time. So again, you're going to go ahead and you're going to answer against next to each one of these, whether or not you think it was science. If it's science, put an S. If it's not science, put an S. Go ahead. All right, sub, 7 minutes on the timer, or are you over there? I'm not sure. Wherever you are. 7 minutes on the timer, or did I say 6? I'll let you decide, 6 or 7 on the timer. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, so you've had a couple of minutes to think about it. What is science? What's not science? But now you're going to go with your table and you're going to have a chance to talk to your table mates and determine between the 3 of you or 4 of you whether or not you agree. So what you're going to do is you are going to compare your answers with your table. You're going to go through each one, and each person must participate. So that means that you're going to go through astrology. Did you think it was science? Did you think it was science? Oh, you thought it was not science. Okay, we have a disagreement. So if there's a disagreement, you have to talk about it. Tell your reasons why you chose it was science or not science. And you're going to do this for every single one. Now, if you come up where you disagree with someone and the other person makes a really good point and now you're kind of second guessing yourself and you're like, oh, maybe it is not science or maybe it is science, feel free to add that in the color red next to your original answer. So we're not looking to erase your previous answer. We want to see how we're learning, right? Don't worry. Remember, you weren't wrong. You just have now new information and you're changing your mind. So make sure that you are talking through each one. And if there is a disagreement, that you're talking about why. Make sure this is respectful. We don't know who is right and who is wrong yet. So make sure that you are being kind to one another and that you're listening. But really, really spend the time going through each one and making sure that you are discussing if there's anything that's different. So take about 6 minutes, staying with 6 minutes this time. Pause the video, 6 minutes to go through each one. Add red if you have if you change your mind. You can pause the video. So now that you've had a chance to go ahead and think about, maybe you changed your minds, right? Maybe you have a lot of black and red. Maybe you stuck to your guns and it's all black. Maybe it's like a sprinkle of red that some of them you changed your mind and that your partners had a really good point. So what I'd like for you guys to do is in 3 to 5 sentences, and this is something that's going to be true for the entire semester. I am always going to ask you to have a minimum of 3 to 5 sentences because you're in high school and you can do it. I know it sounds really challenging to come up with 3 to 5 sentences, but the minute you start going, you'll be surprised at how you can't stop. So the first question is, so after looking at your table, what did all of your phenomenon activities that you considered science have in common? What made some considered science and some not? So what commonalities are you seeing? What threads, what patterns are you seeing? That's kind of what we're looking for. So I know that it may seem like this is difficult to write in 3 to 5 sentences, but it's really not. Think about adding as many specifics as you can. Think about adding as many details as you can. The more detailed and specific you are, the better your answer is going to be. And that will definitely take you to 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, so that's going to be your first question. Then number 2, what criteria or checklist would something need to have in order to be considered? So what Now we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. What needs to be checked off in order for it to be considered science? And last but not least, what is your definition of science? Yes, this should also be 3 to 5 sentences. So, what is your definition of science, right? And make sure it's your definition. I'm not interested in you looking up the answer on Google, right? I want you to define science based on this last week and what you believe would be something scientific and not. But I'll know if you looked it up. So please be mindful that you're writing this in your own words and that they're your own thoughts. You're going to have the rest of the class period to answer these 3 questions. They are due by tomorrow, so if you didn't finish it in class, please make sure you finish it for homework. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.